Okay, we have to talk about this line. This line is 5,800, and this one is 6,800. A very important focal point for Bitcoin. Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Very important. The amount of times both of these lines have acted as either support or resistance throughout the entire history of Bitcoin is honestly quite staggering. So losing this range would not be good. Big brain thinking, I know. But don't just take my word for it. Take an expert's opinion on it. Over to you, as you guys have dubbed him, Fiat. No, not Fiat. Too many characters. Charts Daily. Wow, thank you for that update. Honestly, his ability to relay the necessary information without wasting too much time on fluff is quite impressive. But I know people would still like to hear my opinion on the situation, on whether or not I believe Bitcoin will go lower. But I want to preface this by saying no one knows for sure. Unless you're this guy, of course, who transferred 50,000 Bitcoin from unknown wallet to unknown wallet the other day. This person can definitely tell you what's about to happen on Bitcoin, if a brutal dump is incoming or not. But anyway, I actually have quite a strong opinion on this question, if Bitcoin is going lower or not. Quite frankly, this is capitulation volume. 52% rapid decline from top to bottom. This is textbook what you would expect to see from a market bottom, and we've seen something like this before. Late 2018, remember that happy time? Near 50% decline, massive volume, much higher than normal around that time. Bitcoin then eventually rallied. So anyone still left holding Bitcoin, oh, you poor souls. No, I'm still holding Bitcoin too. Isn't exactly super eager to sell right now, which is somewhat provable. This is a picture. Thank you. Thank you. I write my own stuff. This is a picture of the Bitcoin exchange balance. As we can see lately, it has been sharply falling off. So people are taking their Bitcoin away from the exchanges. The implication being people aren't exactly gearing up right now to sell. Maybe that's the wrong implication to take, but that's what we're getting from this. Plus the Bitcoin halving is next month. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So there's definitely quite a few sensible reasons as to why you wouldn't expect Bitcoin to fall much lower from here. However, I must address the elephant in the room. We already thought all of this to be the case before the dump occurred. So either Bitcoin does not care about how sensible your reasoning is and will either dump or pump on you without rhyme or reason, or this was caused by an outlier, namely a global pandemic. Now, to be fair, both statements could very well be true. But let's have a look at what effect a global quarantine might be having on Bitcoin.
Screw the quarantine. I'm out of here.
Initiate containment procedure.
Oh! Ah! Ow! Oh!
Go on now.
I have no idea, personally, when things are going to return to normal. There is some debate on the matter. Trump thinks we'll be getting back to normal within a couple of days, while the UK government thinks 6 months at least. Interesting divide there. And while this isn't strictly related, I do want to share it now because I think it's hilarious. In an act of insane generosity, US citizens do not need to file a tax return on their $1,200 stimulus check. So let me just break down the situation for you. They printed trillions, thereby devaluing everything unless you hold some assets. They gave the majority of that money to Wall Street. They'll give you a tiny sliver, but at least you don't need to pay tax on it. But getting back to what impact these unprecedented times have on Bitcoin, please tell me there's been some. Let's look at the graphs.
Look at this graph.
This is the S&P 500 daily chart. Not looking great as of recording, but initially started to make a recovery end of March. Gold similarly making a recovery end of March. Bitcoin, after stabilizing, making a recovery end of March. I'm not exactly saying they're correlated. This is very little proof. Just interesting that the dates line up. If it does correlate, a huge if it does, a depression would likely be bad news. But Crypto Daily, Bitcoin is a store of value. Surely it will go up in an economic depression. you naive, sweet summer child. In my last few videos, I discussed why Bitcoin does make a good store of value on paper, but realistically, it's very early days still. Only a few million wallets exist worldwide. To put this in perspective, most mobile games that you can download have more of a user base. The rate of adoption is increasing though, but it's nowhere near global store of value status.
How dare you!
I suppose I should address this now if anyone's confused by it. How did gold have a sell-off during these times, despite being the premier store of value? There's a few reasons, most of which I don't know, but primarily the main one that I do know is because banks hold the majority of gold. Banks needed cash. That is why. This can apply to Bitcoin as well, potentially. Are the big holders of Bitcoin going to need cash? Quite possibly. Cash seems to be king in markets such as these, so it's up to them. There's far too many variables to predict human behavior here. So the question then becomes, can we avoid a global economic depression?
I have crippling depression.
The jury's still out on that one. No one's actually quite sure. Despite all the Federal Reserve Burr memes you may have seen, they might be able to pull it off.
No, you can't just keep destroying the value of our money. Haha, money printer go brrrr.
But Crypto Daily, that's yet another reason Bitcoin will pump. Because of infinite printing, Bitcoin's scarcity is now more important than ever. That is very true. But before we continue, shout out to crypto.com for doing their bit during this crisis. For the next 3 months, using their beautiful crypto Visa cards, I would like one by the way, you can earn 10% back on groceries, up to 20% back on food deliveries. Credit card fees are waived for buying crypto, and if that's not enough, you can earn $250 by following and retweeting their Twitter post, which I will have links below. They're a great company I've decided to work more closely with. So why is Bitcoin scarcity more important than ever? Let's put it into context here. The amount of money that's currently being printed is $1 million every second. At that rate, they would print the entire market cap of Bitcoin in less than 2 days. How much are they going to print exactly?
There's enough cash in the financial system, and there is an infinite amount of cash at the Federal Reserve. We will do whatever we need to do to make sure that there's enough cash in the banking system.
That's crazy! But it's always been a status quo. It's not like fiat has ever had a limit. So why exactly is this so interesting to Bitcoiners? Well, one of Bitcoin's main objectives is to counter the notion that money creation can be inexhaustible. We can't ask the creator of Bitcoin now, of course, whether or not this was their intention, but by their own admission, it does seem so. The root problem with conventional currency is that all the trust that's required to make it work. Central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currencies is full of breaches of that trust. Couldn't have put it better myself, although Tyler Winklevoss has tried. Bitcoin is the only vaccine in the world that can give you immunity to the money printing disease. It's not bad. What I do find fascinating though is the argument that countries can't debase their currencies continually without major negative consequences. And obviously adding fuel to those arguments is examples of post-World War I Germany, or more recently the examples of Zimbabwe or Venezuela. There is, however, you might be surprised, good arguments to counter that notion though. The rate of money creation the US is currently engaged in is way less than what Venezuela or Zimbabwe ever did. But most importantly, the US actually has the assets to absorb that new money creation quite easily. And it doesn't hurt that dollars is a global in-demand currency. So truthfully, we don't know if this is unsustainable. It is unprecedented in recent history for a global superpower to increase the rate of production so much, so fast. But to assume that this benefits Bitcoin in the short to mid-term, maybe. Let me know what you think. Maybe not. But if not now, eventually, I hope. I'm very hopeful of that. I'm also very hopeful of a like on this video if you enjoyed. I know, very smooth. Thanks for watching. On tonight's episode, CZ outs himself as one of the best Bitcoin counter price indicators ever. Does he even beat Peter Schiff? Pandemonium in the supermarkets. Apparently people believe the virus attacks your butthole. Where is Crypto Daily? Has he given up on Bitcoin? Or is he taking self-isolation very seriously?